What's going on, everybody? YL from rebelears.com here again with another quick live sound tutorial. As you can see, I'm working on my Yamaha QL5. This console has 64 inputs, so it's pretty large. I'm just pointing out my first fader bank, so I'm showing you guys my inputs 1 through 32. All right, you can see my first two inputs are pulled down. They're podium mics. I'm not using those. And at the moment, I have 4 wireless mics on. I have 6 total. 4 is on. I mean, I have 4 people on the stage talking at the same time, as you can see what I'm showing you here. Okay, so I can literally select each channel. As you can see, I'm on my wireless 3. The person that's talking right now, you can see their voice reacting to the EQ. All right, so EQing in live sound is not the same as EQ in studio when you're mixing and things of that nature. But the frequencies really don't change, right? You still get 400 in that mud and all of that. All right, so I'm showing you a gate, my different dynamics that come in the console. You can also put dynamics on each individual channel. And usually when I have a lot of microphones side by side on the stage, like I have 4 right now, I have a small gate. So basically when one person stops talking, their mic kind of shuts off a little bit. All right, so I'm showing you my outputs. So I have my stereo left and right, which is pretty much, you know, self-explanatory, right? We're going stereo. So if I change over to my fader bank, as you can see, I have 6 monitors, right? So I have 6 speakers going across this room. So my first mix is my left, my second will be my right. All right, and then I have my outfields on the very end. So that's what I'm pointing at now, my outfields. All right, so those are my 3 different outputs that I'm running as far as where am I sending signal, right? So out of my 6 speakers, the 2 closest to the stage on the left side will be left. The 2 closest to the right side will be right. All right, so that's my mix 1 is my left 2 speakers. My mix 2 is my right 2 speakers, and my outfields are my outside speakers on the very end. You can EQ these speakers as well. You can EQ your outputs, which I really love, right? So also I can EQ my main output. All right, so these are all of my outputs, right? We have, I believe, 16 mixes on here. So if we go back to inputs, you can see that I have all of my microphones, and I'm going to send them, right? So I'm sending them to a DCA group, right? It's just kind of like Pro Tools where you're grouping certain tracks together, right? I'll be able to do the same thing to all of them, right? And I named this DCA group. I send this DCA group to mix 4, right? So it's another output, but I'm only doing that so I can basically, it's like sending your vocals to an aux track, right? So now I can put a graphic EQ or GEQ on my vocal aux track, and that's what I'm showing you right here, right? So I send all of my wireless microphones to my mic sub, which would be mix 4, and then I put a graphic EQ on that, right? It's just like adding the aux, making it an aux, and then we will send that to my left, right, and outfield speakers. All right, so I'm just pointing out EQs of my different outputs. Like I said before, you can EQ your outputs. All right, so if I go back to my DCA groups, as you can see, DCA2, you see that green light up there on DCA2, that is signal basically, right? So as you know that people on stage talking right now, so DCA group 2 is lit up because we are getting signal, right? So you see those mics. I can select each channel and send each one to DCA2. So the best thing about this Yamaha consoles are their screens, man. I really love their touch screens. Everything is right in front of you. You can apply inserts and different effects to these tracks as well. All right, so I'm also All right. So as you can see, I'm clicking on my patch to show you guys that I am going through Dante. All right, so I have a digital snake, which is network cable. It's a Cat 6 cable that's running from the back of that console right there. As you can see, it says Dante network. Usually we'll run 2 of those and run it redundant, but this was a really simple setup. So we are running 1 line from the console, and behind the stage where they're sitting is my stage box. It's called a Rio. And basically I can connect all of my inputs and outputs through that Rio through one cable, through one network cable. So I don't need a bunch of XLR and I don't need a huge snake. I can run 1 line to that Rio and then run my output XLR, input XLRs to that box. All right, and then that's how we can get signal from the front of the room all the way to the back of the room where front of house is without using a bunch of XLR. All right, so now I'm showing you that on my outfields, I have a small delay. All right, so one thing about timeline and speakers and dealing with delays, it's all about distance, right? So these are my delays coming in on my return tracks. All right, so I'm sending my delays out and then I'm returning them on those 2 channels that you saw. And once I turn those 2 return channels up, the delay that I have selected will be, you will be able to hear those in those delay speakers. Those delay speakers are slightly off the timeline because they are not side by side. So you will need to put a small delay on the speakers when they are not side by side, so the sound hits the same object at the same time. All right, so just going through this is Rio. This is how your Rio would look. As you can see, Yamaha Rio 1608. All right, 16 inputs, 8 outputs. This is my Dante setup. This is a really advanced setup. This is not the old school hardwire way. You really need to be savvy in network. All right, anytime you're dealing with Dante or anything like that, you really need to be savvy in network. So I'm showing you my input patch. Basically you have to go in and configure your console to match the Rio. Outside of that, you also have to configure your inputs and outputs. So it is not plug and play like the XLR. I'm showing you my different inputs. Of course, I have some laptops going on. These are all 6 of my wireless mics, just giving you guys a look at this setup. Pretty simple, 6 microphones, 6 speakers. You know, this is a really huge console to do this job. But, you know, look at your boy, the professional audio engineer, making a living with audio every single day. This is what we do. I hope you guys enjoyed this little quick rundown of what I do at work.